Is the role of X today? Well, Dr. Liam McLoughlin is a lecturer in communication and media at the University of Liverpool and joins us now. Hello, Liam.
Hi, Rima. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. For you, first of all, are you on Twitter? Are you on X?
Yeah, but I'm also everywhere else at the same
Okay,
time,
okay.
right?
So where is everywhere else?
Oh, well, I've got accounts on Reddit, Blue Sky, I've dabbled in a little bit of Mastodon. I tried Threads for a bit. Facebook has been a resurging platform for me,
Mm.
actually. I think it's actually been really interesting for local news and it's got a really important role there. So yeah, I try to be everywhere and have a good experience on the
It's
internet.
interesting though, isn't it? I thought I'd ask you that because so many people that I've been talking to are saying, I've moved here, I've moved there, but there does seem to be an enduring appeal of Twitter, doesn't there?
Yeah, and I think this is actually really interesting because the actual instances of new apps overtaking established platforms are actually really far and few between. And it turns out that actually established users on a certain particular platform are actually quite sticky in their behaviors once they've got like an established following, or when they've got like a good network, a good community in a certain place. They tend to try and stay there even if there's draws. So we have seen examples such as Threads, Blue Sky, Mastodon. They've all tried to take on Twitter, right? And they've all tried to leverage the failures, some might say, or the dramas, and the criticism of the X, which is formerly called Twitter. I will keep calling it Twitter, by the
Yeah, I
way.
can't
I'm,
not
I'm
call
with
it
you with
Twitter.
that.
I can't not call
Um,
it Twitter. We were talking though earlier about Elon Musk and some of the things that he said. He said, well, this message that came in from David said that he said we're now at civil war. What he actually said is civil war is inevitable. And that was following, the violent unrest that we saw in the UK.
yeah.
Is this what we want the owner of Twitter to be commenting on?
You've got to be quite careful when looking at Elon Musk's tweets. I still call them tweets rather than posts
Mm.
because he's quite careful in the fact that he knows his posts have significant influence on the platform. He's got a huge following on there, but also, he's asked his Twitter engineers to boost his post in the algorithm, right? So he knows what he's commenting on is more likely to be seen. And he gets away with it quite carefully. So you see posts quite often with him commenting, interesting or putting a question mark on things. I'm
Mm.
sure we've all seen Elon Musk post these types of messages. And it's a very careful way of him dictating the public agenda, getting us to think about certain things or highlighting certain positions over others. And I think what's quite interesting to do is kind of compare it with some of the other digital oligarchs we've seen out there. For example, Mark Zuckerberg and the former owner of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, they've wielded significant political power, but they've only done so very gently. They try to be seen as independent. They have the oversight board. Musk has very much not done that,
Mm.
right? He's decided that he owns this platform, it's his, he has leverage and he wants to use it. And we've definitely seen that with the interview with Donald Trump. We've definitely seen it with who he's decided to allow back on the platform as well, right? We've seen, you know, people previously banned on the platform, Donald Trump being one of them.
Yeah.
Tommy Robinson was formerly banned and now unbanned. And also Katie Hopkins as well, each banned for reasons people would say are fairly justifiable, right? And he's allowed them back on. And simultaneously, he's banned some people who have been critical of him as well, right? There's been a couple of journalists, for example, those at the Texas Observer and things like that, who've been critical of Musk or Tesla, who found themselves banned, shadow banned, right? So he's being quite selective about this free speech platform.
Yeah. Well,
So he is wielding
we
influence.
talk a lot about, the owners of these platforms, which are, they are they're companies that they own,
Mm.
basically, having a responsibility. But is this not like anything else? Any other product, if you don't like it, then just stop using it.
No, you've got a fair point, but I think some might argue that there is a public good in having a, public agora. There's this old style that we like the idea of having a public sphere. It's the same way someone might say, I listen to BBC Five Live, and then maybe the editorial decisions might make them think, oh, this is
Mm.
quite sad. I used to like what it used to be. It had
Yeah.
a democratic role in our society. And when that's taken away, I think people are right to be quite critical because it was something and now it's something else, right? It was
Yeah.
not always been this editorialized space.
Well, aside from, all of these differences in how
Mm,
Twitter runs, and I think anyone that has been on Twitter for any amount of time, you can see how it's changed. Sometimes not for the good. Just as a sort of user experience for me personally, it has
yeah.
definitely changed. One of those things that there's been a lot of discussion on recently is this taking away of seeing what people have liked. So you can't see what anyone
Mm,
likes anymore. And there's been this discussion about how that opens up the idea that the algorithm is then putting in front of you things that you wouldn't usually see, but because people are protected by the fact that you can't see likes anymore, they're now liking more and more extreme things
mm.
and extreme views.
Yeah, definitely. And when this move first came about, one of my major concerns was actually public accountability. Um, one of the we've caught quite a few politicians and those in public life liking content they shouldn't. Sometimes it's a bit embarrassing. Maybe it's content they shouldn't be doing as liking as politicians. But sometimes it's those with unsavory political views, or maybe those that descend into racism or even hate speech. And we've had that ability taken away from us to hold those into account. So there's that as well. Um, but the decision to do this isn't just about kind of allowing people to be more free on the platform. Um, ultimately, it's about kind of protecting some of the more high profile users on there as well. It's about trying to save face. So it's not just about kind of radicalizing the algorithm or kind of changing what we see. It's also about protecting some of the users that Musk might like over others, maybe.
We're getting lots of messages in at Liam at the moment. Lots of people.
Oh,
Andy
great.
Walton on Thames and number ending 3867 saying, "Move to Blue Sky." I'm on Blue Sky, but my issue is, as I think what the official term is, an elderly millennial, an aging millennial, Liam, is that I just can't. I don't think I've got it in me to learn a new social media platform.
And I mean, that's a fair point. And there's also this other aspect is that some of the issues that we see with Twitter, those being bots, spam, and content moderation issues, there are also issues on these new platforms.
Yeah.
There's an issue with kind of bots on Blue Sky now as well. Because ultimately, to run a large platform like that, it takes a huge operation. It takes massive resources. You have to have a large body of staff to run an effective content moderation system. And Blue Sky doesn't have that, and it's not really gotten to grips with that. So what we might end up seeing is people, even if people do just decide to jump ship over to this new platform, the same issues persist
Because
because
it's
it's
the same
about kind
people
of,
moving
yeah.
over, though, isn't it? Sort of you move. Because at the end of the day, when you take away the bots, it's the same people behind the phone screens that are
Hmm,
posting these things across
yeah.
social media. What's your prognosis then for X/Twitter? Will it live long and prosper, or are we seeing this dire death in front of us?
I think it's hard to say that it's going to die a death because it has an owner who has lots of resources, and it would probably take a lot for him to admit that this project of his has failed and he's not going to keep it going somehow. But what we might see is it kind of changing about what it is, right? We might see the idea that, maybe acceptance that some platforms just do lean politically or bias one way or another. Um, but that won't mean we still won't have people and politicians going there. I heard the other day that some MPs were thinking about leaving the platform. My PhD was about why do MPs use social media?
Yeah.
And one of the things I discussed on there with them was, you know, people of for example, the Democrats, you know, they're on a platform which actively hates them now, right? If you look at kind of what content's being boosted on there, but there's still been a campaign on the platform, right?
Mm,
There's in the same way that Keir Starmer still talked to the Daily Mail,
yeah.
right? This is still going to be a space for some sort of
Yeah,
political
because if you want
deliberation.
votes, you're
It's
not
going
going
to
to
be
be
different.
preaching to the choir, are you? Those are
No,
where you can pick up votes. I imagine that's the conclusion of the thought process. But it's all
exactly.
very. I mean, it's fascinating to see how this moves. Like I said, I'll just be on Twitter until they close it down. Quite honestly, I just can't be bothered learning anything else now. That's where I stand on it all. Dr. Liam McLoughlin,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
very much for being with us this afternoon. Lecturer in communication Communication and Media at the University of Liverpool there. Keep getting in touch. What do you think of the whole ex-Twitter situation? Are you one of the many people, it seems like, from the messages that we're getting, who've made the jump elsewhere? And is that elsewhere, whatever it is it better? Is it better for now? Tell me. Get in touch. Now, it's been 29 years since the summer of Britpop and Blur versus Oasis